Hello, everybody. We are here for Tuesday Talks. Tuesday Talks is all about getting to know an individual and finding out what makes them tick, what do they care about, and how their career reflects that, and what motivates them and what keeps them going. So today we have an amazing guest called Marcus Matthews. Marcus is helping professionals turn fear into fearless, suck into success, so they can find the freedom they deserve, empowering you to change your life, right? So let's get Marcus on here and we get to hear all about. No, how you doing, Marcus? Thank you very
I'm
much
g-
for joining Tuesday Talks.
yeah, I'm good.
So I've done a short introduction for you already, but you're the best person to expand onto that. So let the listeners know who you are, what you do, and the biggest question that everybody has on their mind is, why do you do it, Marcus?
Well, my dream. Let me start with my dream. Let me start with my why. Massive Simon Sinek fan, so let me start with my why. So my why is all about disrupting how mental health feels, and I want to just highlight the feels on that. So back in 2016, I was a serving police officer in the UK, and I ended up getting assaulted. And that led really over a 2 year period to my mental health getting so bad I just wanted to kill myself. Raw and real, that's where I was, suicidal. And what happened basically was that I was put into a system that was about protecting the system, not actually wondering why I felt the way that I did. So it was actually nothing to do with the assault. It was actually the care or lack of care that I got afterwards. And that understanding of kind of treating me as a human. Um, so I was very, very fortunate. Well, fortunate, unfortunate. I ended up getting sectioned. So for those people who don't know, I ended up going into work, had a massive breakdown. My inspector put me on what's called a Section 136. Ended up rocking up to the mental health unit in Shrewsbury. Yeah, and life kind of went a bit rubbish. It was like I thought I was going to lose everything, and it was out of that kind of that pain. It was out of that abandonment, I guess, that I remember sitting. I remember sitting on the sofa and going, "Nobody's coming to help me." Right.
Mm.
I ended up going to see my GP, and my GP offered me counselling and drug therapy. Can I swear on your thing? Is that all right?
Uh,
I won't swear. I won't swear. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So I said to my GP, I don't want counseling. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want drug therapy. I want to know why the F I feel the way that I do. Right? Why do I feel this way? It makes no sense. I got a great job that I loved. I got a family. On the surface, nothing, it didn't seem as though life was bad. And one of the reasons why I say about suck to success with professionals is because outwardly people can often look as though they're successful. And I'm presently working with Mind Valley as a chief life officer, and we're taking a lot of C grade executives, CEOs, founders through 12 years of transformation in 12 months. And these people, money is no issue. They're at the top of their game. But it's so interesting that the more successful you get, the more an imposter you become, right?
Hmm.
Because now you're outwardly successful. If you show up as being anything other than successful, you look weak. And I don't care what anybody says. So that's where I was. I was a police officer who outwardly very confident, knew my job, everything was going well, but inside I was broken. And I think it's harder when you're playing that game to actually get help. And that's why I love what I do, because I use multiple ways of doing it. But this journey started with Vishen Lakhani. It was a Mind Valley advert on Facebook for rapid transformational therapy, and I had the pleasure and the joy to meet my mentor Marissa Peer, who I'm a trainer with the Marissa Peer School. And what happened was that therapy changed my life. From that, I've been a coach, I've been a trainer before that anyway. And then I started to really get into this understanding of what spirituality is. And I recently got a phrase about this, and I love this. It's a spirituality is the science that physics hasn't got an equation for yet. So there's a lot of thinking about spirituality, but the, I speak both woo-woo and science, right? So my dream is to redefine that. And what happened was, once I got myself sorted, I pretty much got PTSD. I don't do labels, but that's what I got. And I broke the rules. I should have been off work for 12 to 18 months, lots of talking therapy. Would he come back? And within 3 months, 2 psychologists later, I was back out training police officers, taser officer, but it went downhill because I broke the rules, right? So I couldn't have been okay. So 2019, I decided to hand my warrant card in, which was really, really tough. And the reason I did that was because I recognized that nobody was helping people properly. You know, success with mental health is coping and managing, right? And if you had a broken leg and you went to the doctor and the doctor said, okay, what I want you to do is walk on the other leg and come back every week and we'll talk about it. Pretty much, I think every doctor would lose their jobs. But with mental health, that's a success, right? Success is coping and managing. And when we were in Tallinn together, one of the greatest breakthroughs I had there was we see resilience as being success, but it isn't. Being anti-fragile is success. And that was one of my biggest takeaways. Hence the reason why I did nick it off Ajit's wife, the suck to success thing. You know, I'm not going to say that, you know, but yeah. And now obviously I'm a trainer with Marissa Peer. I'm so fortunate to have, you know, Ashton, Ajit and Vishen and part of the Mind Valley crowd and all the rest of it. So yeah, it's been a tough of, you know, few years, 4 years. But yeah, that's why I'm here. Like you know, we want to impact lives and we want to make change, and we can only do that by working together.
And I really love this journey of yours, and thank you for sharing this, and also sharing the vulnerability side of this journey. As you mentioned in your journey already, you know, if people look at you as if you have these successes, then you're the strong person, you're successful. Vulnerability is seen as weakness, and hence, you know, it's a taboo subject, especially amongst men. You do not want to share anything like that. So yeah, I praise for you sharing that vulnerability and mentioning, you know, the label PTSD as is gets thrown about about nowadays a lot. Which is so I understand the journey there now, and being another guy can also relate to this, that, you know, the stress and all these symptoms for suicide and everything are actually the highest among men. Is that correct, right?
Yeah, I think it's about 7%. And I find that really interesting when we look, a bit controversial now, but when we look at kind of, you know, we live in this society where it's all male dominated and men have got everything, but actually one of the biggest problems is that it's all fake, right? So most people that are turning up nowadays that are saying they're the big thing and they're this and they're that and the other, they're Instagramming themselves. And actually a lot of it is around connection, because your mind is there to keep you alive, right? It's not there to keep you happy. And it does exactly what's familiar. So if we do something, I often say to clients, most clients want to hold on and jump at the same time. You know, you have to kind of destroy who you are. Now, this was my biggest breakthrough, and this is a trigger warning. I'm going to just put a trigger warning out here, but one of the things that I recognized is that as a police officer, I had to go through a lot of suicides, and we had to investigate suicides. Now, there's something that I noticed, that when it was a suicide where somebody planned it, okay, and often it was those, we knew they were having a tough time, but we didn't know that they wanted to kill themselves. It's like, hello, I'm in that club. I knew that one. That could have been me.
Yeah.
What I now know to be true is that those feelings of suicide, it's not about killing the physical. It's about killing the programming. It's about killing what you've become. Because as Aristotle says, show me the man before the age of 7. Show me the child before the age of 7, and I'll show you the man. So 80% of who we are as adults was already programmed into us by the time we were 7 or 8 years old. So if you think about it, another 10% is until about 18, and then we're fully formed by the age of 35 within our thoughts and who we are. Oh, look at the statistics. Most men killed themselves between the age of 35 and 45. Is that a coincidence? I think not.
Yeah.
You know,
It is.
and
Yeah, no, I was just going to add, it's actually something you touched upon in, that by the age of 7, and I've read a different study. Obviously, it was to do with the decision-making skills when you are an adult, and where does that come from, and why are you doing the unlearning that you are doing now? It's
mm,
all down to your childhood, as young as age. It was mentioned as young as age 3, because you are observing that time already, what was happening in the house, what your mom and dad siblings are doing. So you're observing that time, right? So you're like, oh, I can't wait to do these
mm,
things, right? Because you're little. Once you now have that freedom of, like, you are now capable of moving, walking, whatever that is, and you got a bit of freedom, you start utilizing those skills to make those decisions already. So you are making those decisions as a kid, and then you're a little bit older. Society and friends, family, and everybody are guiding you what's right and what's wrong. Just giving you a bit of judgments here and there. Then your decision-making skills then are influenced again. And whilst all this is happening, you are obviously, as brains is a sponge at that age and everything. You are just storing everything. By the time you reach adulthood, and now you need to actually make life-changing decisions or any decisions which affects you or something. What does the brain do? As you said, is designed to make sure that you survive, right? It goes back to its
mm.
programming that is used to since beginning. It doesn't know anything else than what is learned and what it's seen, right?
Well, let me throw some science in. Okay, I'm not a scientist, but let me throw some science in. Einstein's theory of general relativity, right? It goes. I'll paraphrase it, but it's the mass of an object. The bigger the mass of the object, the more time it takes to move. The more time it takes to move from one place to another, right? So, what is the mass of your mind? Right, it has no mass. So,
Yeah.
therefore, your mind does not know time. It only knows what you tell it. And one of the words that I picked up on, you said about judgment. So I'm writing a book at the moment because I've got this thing called the facts to abundance. All right. So it's stepping into fear, taking action, making the right choices, trusting that the universe has got your back, and then stepping forward, right? Faith over fear. But I started to dig into what fear was. So when I was speaking to clients, what is the thing that they need, or what is the thing that they're telling themselves that stops them making that move? So I came up with this thing called the 4 thieves of happiness. So it'll be interesting to see if you resonate with this, right? So if we take the premise that we connect to what is familiar, and we need family, we need people around us that's familiar to make us feel connected and survive, right? So use that as our basis and purpose and all the rest of it. When we get to a stage where we feel anxious, where we feel overwhelmed, 4 of these, if not all, kick in. The first one is judgment. Judgment of self, being judged by others, or being perceived that we're being judged by others, that we're not good enough, we're different, that's not available to us, right? I love Brené Brown. So now we go shame and guilt. So I'm feeling shame, I can't provide for my family, especially men, okay? I'm feeling shame, I can't protect my family. I'm now feeling guilt, I haven't got that job, I'm not bringing the income in. And then what we do is, because we want to wrap that up and we don't want anybody to see that we inside are starting to break, we then start to validate. So when we kick off, when we get angry, or when we try and not have that difficult conversation because we don't want to get vulnerable, then we validate, oh, no, I'm fine. Or you have that toxic boss that you're trying to prove, so you don't want to be there, but you're trying to prove yourself. You're then validating. So we're in this cycle of shame, guilt, judgment, validation, which is all wrapped up in a parcel of connection and purpose, because we want our connection and purpose, but there's all this. So the way that I look at it is, we can talk this left and right brain. We can say feminine divine, masculine divine, it doesn't matter. But one thing that's key to everything, happiness or sadness or depression, anxiety, is this: we have a story and we have a feeling. Okay? So that's it. Now, normal therapy, even coaching, works on the story. I know what I know, and I know what I feel, so this is my story. And that's what people say. But actually, it's the feeling that drives the behavior. So you think about it, you have a thought in your head, something goes wrong, somebody upsets you, and you get angry, you feel the feeling, then you react. So it's the feeling that drives the behavior, not the thought. The feeling resides in the subconscious, which is 95% of your power. So you're
Wow.
coming from a place of emotion, because as soon as that cortisol comes into your body, your neocortex and your prefrontal cortex disappears, right? So I'm not going to communicate. I can't do quadratic equations. I can't do anything like that. I go into my limbic system, and now I'm going, but the environment that I'm in, I don't feel safe. So it goes, let's go full on caveman here. So now we're coming from emotion, and our amygdala doesn't speak language. It can only speak emotion. It's like a toddler, right? That wants its way. It can't express that way, so it expresses in another way. So what I do is, the story is the gateway to the feeling. The story isn't the story, right? So we want to know, why do we feel that way? And that's held in the subconscious and unconscious mind. So use hypnotherapy to get into that feeling and bring that feeling to the conscious. Can I share a story? Because this is a bizarre, as an example.
Yeah, sure.
Is that
Sure.
okay?
Go for it. Yeah. It's part of
Very,
your
very
journey.
quick. Yeah, very quick one. So this is where it's odd. So I worked with a lady. When she was 14, she was sexually assaulted. Okay, again, trigger warning, but I'm not going to go into any details. From that, she had drug therapy, counseling, you name it. Didn't kind of work for her. Then she started to connect with men and go out drinking, have sex, relationships, drugs, all that sort of stuff. Numbing, basically. 28, she met a guy, love of her life, ended up being with him for 6 months, got pregnant, he turned into a narcissist, and there was this loop that just completely thingy. So we did the session. This was the root cause. At 6 years old, she sat in class doing a maths test. She's daydreaming. Very creative lady, daydreaming. The teacher does the maths test and goes around and asks a question. So, Johnny, what's number 1? Sally, what's number 2? Comes to her. She's not written anything down. Okay, so she's in trouble. All the children go out. She has to redo the test. She's not happy. This feeling comes in her body. This was the link. Just happens that her teacher was male. A man controlled my freedom. She couldn't go out, so the teacher, who was male, stopped her playing with her friends. The assault, a man controlled my freedom. Her drug dealer was a man controlled my freedom. She was going out to numb. She didn't have much money, so she was using her femininity to get free drinks. A man controlled my freedom. The guy, later on in her life, a man controlled my freedom.
Wow.
The mind didn't know that she'd grown up. All he knew is a man controlled her freedom. She was 28. She didn't need a man. And as soon as that happened, the feeling disappeared and she got back on with her life. Because we know what we know and we know what we feel, but we don't know what we don't know. So how can we feel what we've never felt? And that's what I do. I help you find out. Because if you knew why you felt the way you did, then you'd change it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I do.
Yeah.
But it just shows that trauma is actually a little T trauma or a little A abuse, not a big T trauma or a big A abuse. And that's what we focus on. It's like the top of the iceberg. So we blow up the bottom of the iceberg.
Wow.
So we don't sink.
That's actually very interesting as well to get the root cause to it, right? Everybody is actually working with the story that you hear, and what I sometimes always also think is, sometimes when you're with the clients, they just tell you the surface story, then you have to work out or get a bit more deeper and see if the client wants to go in deeper or not, and obviously it works by going into the deeper and getting the backstory. There's always a backstory to the front story, and that backstory is rooted in somewhere. Then you have to just pull on that string, which is the root. And I love that the way that the way you've just shared that story of this lady as well. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. So things that the people would be thinking as well is, whilst you're doing all this, what keeps you in check as well? How do you now manage yourself or balance yourself? I won't even use the word manage. So balance.
I have a coach. I have a coach. Yeah, so I'm a Reiki master as well. So I've done a lot of personal work and I've invested quite heavily in myself. So Um, so whatever I'm working on at the moment, I will always either have a coach, a therapist. So I've done everything from worked with other RTT therapists. I've worked with coaches, speaker coaches, business coaches. An amazing lady I work with who's a psychic surgeon who's from California but lives in Mexico. So I kind of, I'm wherever I need to go. If I've got a block, because I work on the basis, why should somebody come to me if I'm not doing the work myself? You know, I will never take a client on unless I know I can help them. And what my investment in me means that when something comes up, when something might come up in a hypnotherapy session that might be, let's say, more spiritual, read the book by Stephen Kotler, what's it called? It'll come back to me, but there's lots of books when you speak to them about when you go into the unconscious mind that we start to connect with that source, with spirituality, with universe. And that's another thing that I've personally found a lot of my clients is when you do this deep, deep work, the universe just delivers what you need, not what you want, right? It's what you need.
That is actually so true. That is so true because it just knows what you need. And what I wanted to touch upon that is, as you just mentioned, there's the universe, delivers what you need and not what you want. It's a case of you also recognizing what you need, and also when you think that this is what you want is, but recognizing what your needs are in terms of, let's say, an opportunity comes along that you are working on something, and an opportunity comes along, you need to recognize this is the opportunity. If I take it now, or shall I just leave it to go, whatever, right? So you have to also be open-minded to recognize the opportunities around you, because a lot of people are tunnel visioned with what they want, and then they don't look at anything else. For example, what they actually need is something totally different. And coming from myself from like a sales, retail, and then a corporate background, I know that as humans, we struggle to actually clearly communicate what we actually want, right? We don't actually communicate what we want. So that saying that the customers are always right, for that, actually, I always say, that goes out the window, because actually the customer first needs to know what they want, right? So they don't clearly know what they want. And most of the purchases out there in the world, or most of the things that we do out in the world, is driven by the feeling, just exactly you've mentioned. It's driven by a feeling. How do you feel after buying that big TV? How do you feel after buying that car that you wanted up front in the drive? How do you feel by having a loft conversion? How do you feel by speaking to someone, right? So it's the feelings. I'm just using obviously surface level examples here, but there'll be more bigger examples that can be used. But what the examples here are being, it's the feeling that you drive. So with that in mind, do you have certain routines or rituals, as people like to call them sometimes, that you do? Like, how do you, when you wake up and you think this is my non-negotiables, do you have some non-negotiables that you do?
I always try and wake up. I know it sounds cliche, right? But when I wake up, the one thing I always do is just think of 5 things I'm grateful for. And it's not the big stuff. It'll be, when I don't want to get out of bed, I'm grateful for the duvet that's really warm. I'm grateful for the bed that's supporting me. I'm grateful for the pillow. I'm grateful for the fact that my wife's turned the light on, even though I didn't want it to go on. So I try and be grateful. But I think one of the things I always turn to when I get stuck, and this was the greatest thing that I discovered, is whatever the problem is, change the word to energy. Okay? So I'll give you a good example. Money. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough energy. I don't have a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a relationship. I don't have enough energy. So you have the feeling of you don't have it, but you change the word to energy. Now, if anybody tries this, what you'll find is that energy is a feeling. So I don't feel that. So where can I find that energy? Does that make sense? So when you talk to most people about why they want money, for example, they'll go, because it'll give me this, it'll give me that, it'll give me other. So you go, okay, well, so you don't want money. What you want is the nice home. What you want is the nice relationship. You don't want money.
Yeah.
It's just that you believe that money has no intrinsic value, right? All it is a trade, and that's all energy is. So that's probably one of the best things that anybody can do if they're feeling down. The other thing that I would say is that you will hear, and a lot of medical clinicians and people will say this, you'll go into your doctors, I'm having panic attacks, I'm forward thinking all the time, I feel nauseous, whatever it is, right? And they'll go, you've got anxiety. So now we've got an
100%.
excuse, because we go, when I turn up like this, oh, don't wait, it's my anxiety, right? However, and anybody that's watching this, just try this if you do suffer from anxiety. Change the word my to the, and use this word. I'm noticing the anxiety. I'm noticing the overwhelm. I'm noticing the heartache. So let me ask you a question, right, Zishan? Are you in your house now?
Yes.
Okay, and you're sat in your chair.
Yeah.
And you're speaking to me on your computer or your laptop or your phone or whatever, right?
Yes.
These are things that you have, right? These are things that you have. So let me ask you a question. Do you have a body?
Yes, I do.
It was a trick question, don't worry. Do you have a head?
I
you
do
have a
have
head?
a head. Yes.
Do you have a mind?
I do have a mind. Yes.
Do you have a heart?
Yes, I do.
Are you your chair?
I am not my chair, no.
Are you your body?
Oh, no, am I my body? Yes,
No,
I
you're
would be
not.
my body. No, I'm not, right? Oh, okay,
Well, you're not,
interesting.
because it's something that you have, right? So
Okay.
when you become the observer of the experience that you're having, okay, if you were to meditate and you close your eyes and you notice your breathing, so people can do this, close your eyes, breathe in and out, notice your breathing. Notice the taste in your mouth, notice where you're sat. You're noticing these things. You are not these things. You are the observer of the experience that is touch. You are the observer of the experience that is taste. You are the observer of the thoughts in your head. And there's a lady called Susan David, PhD, who puts this beautifully, and she says, with anxiety or depression, you are not the cloud. You are noticing the cloud. Same when you're happy, you are not the sun. You are noticing the sun. We are, in fact, the sky that can have multiple weathers and go in all directions in all planes, which is basically what quantum mechanics is and all the rest of it, right? Where all things at all time in all place. So that's why when we talk about things like meditation, it's not about clearing the mind. It's about noticing the mind. And the amazing Jay Shetty once said, many people pray, but not many people listen. And meditation, closing your eyes, just being present, is the opportunity to listen to the voice behind the ego voice. It's to listen to that voice, that truth that's there, and notice the truth. And even if the ego voice comes in and says, you're not good enough, you're crap, you're this, that, and the other, right now in the present moment, is that true? And for me, that's just a little thing that we do. But as we start to really dig into the mind and we start to understand who we are, this is why in the Bible it says God created man in his own image. What he meant is you're God. You're the creator of your experience, right? Heaven and hell isn't something we go to. It's something that we create on this planet. And the other thing is that they are polarities. So we can't know love without loss. We can't know success without failure, right? Neil Donald Walsh talks about that in his book, Conversations with God. So once you're noticing that actually the bad times that you go through is where the fuel is for your growth. Yeah, you've got to let go of the past to be able to bring in a new future. You know, and Regan Hillier used to talk about this a lot. You know, we have buckets. But if we filled our buckets full of rubbish, we can't fill it with anything good. So we've got to tip it out and then we can bring in the new stuff, right? So that would be my biggest tip that I can give to somebody today is don't be the thing you are. Just notice the feeling that you're having. And you can change that really, really easily when you know how.
I actually love that. And, that's just an amazing way, the way you just took me through that questioning and make me question myself at the end of body. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I see that we are experiencing everything that we have in this place, our bodies, our minds, and everything. We are experiencing it. We are not it, and it's an experience, and I love that, and what it brought to my mind was as well was as you said that we create what we basically want or need is that thoughts, right? So if you are able to think those happy thoughts, for example, and it's a balance of you need to experience sadness to then understand the happiness, right?
Yeah.
If you are always happy, then you won't know what happy is because you've been always in that zone, right? So you have to experience a bit of discomfort, I would love to say, to understand what comfort is, and then so forth, right? And I love that, and that was just going through my mind when you shared this. And so there's another question that I wanted to ask, obviously, the people who are listening to this would love to know that, do you prefer list of things to do or you love scheduling stuff? How do you organize your day? Is it scheduling or list of things to do?
I think a bit of both. I do like order. It's really, really weird because I would say that I'm quite creative, but I do like structure within that. I do like balance within my life. So if you're going to ask me what my triggers are, my weaknesses, it's certainly when I've got my day planned and then something happens that shouldn't. That used to annoy me. But then I always look at that and go, okay, what can I learn here about myself? Because we're all a
Love
work
that.
in progress. So
Yeah.
one of the biggest things though that I've had to learn to do, and again, working with professionals, one of the questions that I ask that always flummoxes them when we look at organizing our lives, right? And we go, yeah, I'm very organized. I get up, I do my 5 a.m. club. I get up and I do this and I'm always on the go and I'm hustling. And the question I always ask is, and this isn't mine, by the way, the amazing Lisa Nichols taught me this, was when do you diary time in to do nothing?
Mm.
Because we're always busy being busy. But again, another amazing mentor, Rich Livin, says slow down to speed up. And actually giving yourself, diarying that time, putting people on notice to say, listen, I'm going to take 20 minutes every day, non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Put people on notice, set those boundaries and go, I just need some me time. And that doesn't mean you have to go and meditate. It might be you can spend 20 minutes on TikTok doing that. We again, a lot of judgment, isn't there? You see a lot of coaches going, you could be a millionaire if you didn't spend any time on TikTok. And it's like, do one. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
If it makes you happy, then do it. Don't feel guilty. Don't feel shame. If you feel happy, it's your life. That person probably just wants to sell you a program, right? And they go, oh my God, I feel guilty instead. And I need to go on this program to sort my life out. It's like, no. If you like cake, if you're overweight and you like cake, as long as you're happy, who cares? And that's what I say to my kids. Whatever you're doing, as long as you're happy, that's all that really matters. And you'll attract the people in that you need, right?
I love this. And what you touched upon there, to create that time for yourself or slow down to speed up again. It just reminded me of the amount of speed bumps we have on our roads in UK. I don't know how it is in the States because we've got some viewers from there as well. But having driven in Florida, there were hardly any, if I can remember. So and that's what I thought of, because I love driving, and there are moments that you want to go fast, but then there is on that particular street will be 5 speed humps or speed bumps there to just slow you down before you get to your destination. And obviously they're designed for safety off the street and pedestrians and whatnot, but it also safety for your car because you are going on a randomly faster speed, let's say, and you don't want to be there getting there before your time, or just get there on the right time. That's how I see, if you're slowing down to then speed up after to get there and be there on the right time, because you will always get to the place where you need to be on the right time. You're never early or late. unless obviously you are dramatically late, just but the timing would
Yeah,
always be your
it
timing.
is what it is, right? It's like I always think. I remember my mum has a great saying. She always goes when she comes down to our house if it's busy near Manchester. So we live in Shrewsbury, but I'm originally from near Manchester in the UK. And she'll come to our house and she'll say, "Oh, the traffic was a nightmare." And I'll go, "Was it really a nightmare, or was it mildly inconvenient?"
That's it.
So you know, if you get stuck at junction 13 on the M25, right, 5 o'clock, you know, you get stuck there, right? I can't do anything. What's the point in stressing? Let me put a podcast on. Maybe I can listen to something.
There you go. Yeah, yeah.
Because the universe is always guiding you to give you an opportunity, and you know, words are powerful. Your mind's listening, and what you tell yourself is what you will create. And I think you mentioned earlier about stress. Because I love this one. It's a play on words, but what's another word for stress? Dis-ease. Take the hyphen out, you have disease, right? If you start to look into cortisol, too much cortisol in your body starts to attack the mitochondria, which are the batteries in your cells. So if our bodies aren't functioning properly, it's like a hose pipe that we're bending because we're stressed. We're putting stress on our body's not working properly, we're going to manifest illness. They're not separate. They're part of the same ecosystem, right? So allowing yourself just that time to go, I'm noticing that I'm feeling stressed. Okay, that's what you need. I think Mel Robbins says 5-second rules, isn't it? You got 5 seconds before it hijacks your body. So if you could just say, oh, I'm noticing this, that's interesting. And not look for why you're stressed, not look for what's causing it. Just allow and give that away and go, oh, I'm feeling this. I'm having this experience. You know, this happened a few weeks ago in Italy. I was on holiday and I had a massive panic attack. And I was like, where has this come from? This makes no sense. I'm on holiday. And it happened 3 times. And I remember just going, wow, this is interesting. And when I reflected when I came home, I recognized it was 4 years ago to the day that I was actually in Italy. And when it came back, that's when I had the breakdown. So I went, get it. The universe was testing me. Same situation, same resort, same place. If I now give you that experience again, how are you going to experience that? So you talked about what you do. That's gratitude, right? At the time, I was like, what's going on? But because all I went is, I didn't give any judgment to it. All I did is I went, I'm feeling this, I'm experiencing this, that's interesting. And I didn't know what it was at the time. I just did some breath work, brought myself back. It was all good. And it was only when I came home and I'd forgotten all about it, thought came into my mind. I went, of course. Because the universe tests you, right? It goes through some tough times, gives you your answer. And then when you don't know it, it'll pull the rug from underneath you to make sure you've learned the lesson. And once you've learned it's the karmic cycle.
There you go. Yeah.
This is where karma comes from. But if you notice the experience and you say, with no judgment, you just go, oh, that's interesting. What am I here to learn? Then you open up multiple possibilities of what you can learn from that experience. And it's so free.
I love that. I love that. And whilst you were explaining about the feelings, what came to my mind was, I'm not too sure where I read it or heard it now, so I'm just gonna just say it as I remember it now. It's, the feelings are like, I'm going to use red buses in London. So, because in London, you're waiting for a bus, none are there, but suddenly there's like 3 comes along and they're all the same buses, 3, right?
Yeah.
All 3 of them. And you're like, what the hell, which one do I take, right? So your emotions are all high now, which one do I take? Feelings are like that. They'll come and go. So they'll come. So if you now, let's say now feelings are like your taxis, right? So they are there, they come along, you get in one, and then you go on a ride on that taxi. And what you're left with at the end is a huge bill to pay to that taxi driver or taxi, right? Because you were in that feeling of that taxi. And now, if you're not noticing those taxi coming and you just let them go. You're like, yeah, I don't need to be in it. You acknowledge, yeah, I see you, taxi, but I am here to enjoy myself. I'm just gonna take, I'm gonna do what I need to do. I'm okay. I will take this journey on my own. Don't need this taxi now. So, but you acknowledge, thank you for asking me if I need that ride now.
Yeah, if I need it, right? Yeah.
And
I
that's
think the
what
other
just came
thing,
into my mind.
I would say the other thing as well is, let me ask you a question. If you were thirsty, how would you know? You'd feel it, right?
Yes. Yeah,
There's a
you feel
familiar
it.
feeling that says, when I feel this, that means I'm thirsty. When you're hungry, you feel the feeling and you're hungry. So when you feel sad, depressed, anxious, whatever it is, why is that a bad thing? Because it's your body going, oh, I'm just letting you know I'm here. You're okay. Don't worry. It's fine. But what we get is we're told from other people what that experience is. So we believe them, right? Because we want to be connected. We've looked at our parents and they tell us all of these things. But if you actually go, I'm feeling that feeling, what is it trying to tell me? Oh, yeah, I am lovable. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I am okay. I am safe. Yeah. It's funny. One of the things I always say to my clients when I talk about anxiety, when they say about anxiety, especially if they come on the call with anxiety, this is my killer. Works every time. I go, okay, I want you to feel that feeling. And then I just want you to answer me one question. And I go, okay, just breathe. Are you going to die right now? And they go, what? No. And I go, how's the feeling? And they go, oh, it's gone. And the reason being is that when we put that thing in, the mind doesn't know whether you're going to get eaten by a tiger or shouted at by your boss. Right? It's the same thing as far as the mind's concerned. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to die. But actually, your feelings, the feelings of anxiety, you know, let's think, just take anxiety. Rumbling in the tummy is often one, right? And forecasting your thoughts into the future. Irritable and maybe not able to sleep. You would say that there are classic anxiety terms, right? Yeah. We're coming up to Christmas. Any parents on here, watch for those symptoms from your children on Christmas Eve. Rumbling in the tummy, forecasting thoughts, what they're going to get from Father Christmas. They can't sleep. They're irritable. They're running around. They're not cognitively thinking properly. Every child, every Christmas, has anxiety. No, they don't. It's just the feeling we've attached the story to. And often the story is somebody else's. Yeah. Same feeling.
So true. And I love this. You know, thank you very much, Marcus, for taking us through your journey and all these amazing nuggets that you've shared in this episode for everybody. If people wanted to get in touch with you, you know, how can they do that?
Well, I'm on Instagram. So the first thing you can do is, as soon as we come off here, is click follow on Insta. If you actually go onto my Instagram, if you click on my bio, there's loads of free stuff. There's loads of places where you can get in contact with me. My website is makeyourlifecount.co.uk. So there's resources on there. And I work one-to-one. In January, I'll be doing my next cohort of my group training thing, which is called Stepping Out of the Valley. So for 5 weeks, I take a group of people through all of this that we've talked about, and we do a massive transformation at the end. And that's awesome because it really gets people to sit in vulnerability. It's beautiful to watch. Everybody comes in going, I don't want to share anything about myself. And then all of a sudden, the floodgates open and I'm not a freak. Everybody feels like me. So that's great. But yeah, you know, the only way that we're going to change mental health in the world, okay, a big dream to change how mental health feels, right? It's heart set, it's not mindset, okay? I hate mindset. It's nothing about the mind. We feel here, right? So I want to help people to just change that feeling that they attach to those destructive thoughts that they tell themselves. And the only way you can do that is by stepping into fear and taking action. You know, I offer free consultations, 20-minute free consultation, because I'm so passionate about this subject, because I never want anybody to go through what I went through. You know, I was on the verge of killing myself. That was my choice. And this voice came in my head and said, nobody's going to help you. So I've been blessed that the universe has, you know, introduced me to lots of amazing people. I've worked with some of the best mentors in the world. So proud that Ajit, you know, is my present mentor at the moment with the CLO program. And I can bring all of that to people. You know, it's a lot of people complain that working with these top coaches in the world costs thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. It does, right? But they've trained other people like yourself, right?
Yeah.
We've both gone through the Mind Valley programs and all the rest of it. And we're here to serve. And yes, there are people out there that do want to take your money and screw you over, but I ain't one of them, right? Because I've been there, I've done it, I've got the T-shirt, so I would never take anybody through anything that I haven't. But you've got to put faith over fear. It's as simple as that, and make that
Yeah,
move.
I agree 100%. Is faith over fear, and you know, the best way I would always say is if you're thinking of, you know, any person listening to us now, if you're thinking of signing up to a coach or reaching out to a person, I would say just spend some time following, watching, because a real coach or real person will take you through their real journey, not successes every time, because you will see a time where the person is just normal, or a family time,
Yeah.
or something they're just doing and they're sharing that.
Like sat in your car waiting to go kayaking.
There you go. See, exactly. So, and those things would be not there for the other person, right? So follow the person, and just depends on who you resonate at the end as well. So, you know, again, go with your feeling of, right, okay, I resonate here, I want to connect and find out more. So I'll definitely recommend everybody who's been listening to this since the beginning or tuned in now to follow Marcus. You know, your cause is amazing. Mental health is definitely needed in terms of to understand more and work differently. It's not just mindset, as you said. It's heartfelt
And it
as well.
doesn't have to be long. I think that's the thing that I need to get through to people, is that people look at therapy as being, I've got to be in therapy for months. And I helped a police officer who'd had PTSD since 1996. We had one session and it went.
Wow. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so it all depends on the individual, right? So it's there.
Yeah. I mean, it's just an example, but I think this is why I'm so passionate about changing it. It doesn't have to be a long, laborious, and you know what? You can take a week off work or a day off work, and you don't have to tell anybody. But I'm not the only one, right? I'm not the only one. There's thousands of us out there that can help.
Yeah,
And I would say go with what you feel. If you resonate with that person, and the other thing I would say, I always say this to people, if you're looking for a coach, a therapist, or anybody, ask them one question. What are you working on at the moment? Because you asked me, what do I do? I've got a coach
yeah,
and all the rest of it, right? Ask them what they're doing. And if they don't have that, if they don't have a coach or a therapist or a mentor or somebody, or, you know, several people they're working with at the moment, stay clear, because they're not doing the work. And if they're not doing the work, how can they expect you to do it?
yeah. That is 100% true, actually, because a coach will be getting coached as well, because it's a continuous learning for us. We will
Absolutely.
be always learning. We never know enough anyway. So every time there's
No,
something new, every time there is something more to develop on, we will be continuously learning whilst we are serving from what we have learned. So Marcus, thank you very much.
100%.
We'll be wrapping this up. Let you
Thank
go
you.
to your kayaking as well. So everybody, before we let you go, I ask this everybody what would you like to say as wrap-up comments for all the viewers and listeners who are listening to this now?
I think I'll go back to that phrase that I said before. You know what you know, and you feel what you feel, but you don't know what you don't know. So how can you feel what you've never felt? So feel that feeling, notice that feeling, and just say that's interesting. And then just see what comes up. You'll be amazed. Miracles will happen.
Wow, I love that, and that's amazing. Definitely, I'm sure people will quote this now a lot of time. No, so thank you very much, Marcus, and
No props.
everybody who's been watching this. If you had a spark whilst watching this episode, now it's our duty to share that spark with somebody else, which means share the episode with whomever has popped up into mind or you think should just watch this, because we all just need that little spark to ignite the engines to run or flick the switch to turn on the light. And that's all we need, is to share that spark with others and ignite the spark in them as well. So we don't know who's just woken up or gone to bed thinking of a better day, and that spark can just help with that as well. Thank you, Marcus, and everybody else. We
No
will see
props.
you next Tuesday. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.